People's National Party PNP candidate for Southwest St. Anne, Danishka Williams, is again raising concern about what she described as political intimidation in the constituency. This follows the reported removal of campaign material. 7 boats were reportedly taken down in Clarksville, Cave Valley, and Calderwood.
This is now the 3rd time I've had to publicly raise concerns about the destruction of my campaign materials. It sends a troubling signal to constituents, to supporters, and to voters, not just in this constituency, but voters right across the country. This pattern of behavior reflects a growing level of political intimidation that must be confronted and condemned by all well-thinking Jamaicans. These are not isolated incidents. There have been other forms of intimidation across the constituency that I know have formally reported to the police. Like every other candidate, I must be allowed to campaign in peace. There is no democracy without fair and free campaigning, and I believe the people of Southwest St. Anne deserve better.
Mrs. Williams expressed concern about the ability of the political ombudsman to treat with these political breaches. She said a letter was sent to the ombudsman last month, but to date the office has not responded. The candidate is calling on the relevant authorities to take action.
I am again calling on the relevant authorities to take urgent action and address this matter of intimidation, especially in constituencies where women are offering themselves for public service. We must send a strong message that this type of politics will not be condoned, not in Southwest St. Anne and not anywhere else in Jamaica. And let me be clear, this is not a sign of weakness. This is a call to action to preserve the integrity of our democracy and ensure that all candidates, regardless of political affiliation or gender, can campaign free from fear.
PNP candidate for Southwest St. Anne, Danishka Williams.
There's been a 79% reduction in murders in all areas under the Zones of Special Operations, ZOSO. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang made the disclosure in Parliament on Tuesday.
The reduction in murders, the increased peace and good order, is a result of the work and policy of the Andrew Holness-led government and the investment they made. We want to indicate that in the zones of special operations, Mr. Speaker, the reduction in homicides for this year compared to last year, there was a reduction, is 79%. 79%. It's 3 murders in the entire 7 zones compared to 14 last year. We are returning.
The House of Representatives also approved an extension of ZOSO in the 7 declared areas for another 180 days. They are Denham Town in West Kingston, Norwood and Mount Salem in St. James, Greenwich Town, Parade Gardens and Augustown in St. Andrew, and Savon Lamar in Westmoreland. The latest extension will expire on December 22. According to Dr. Chang, Jamaica's significant reduction in violent crimes is linked to investments in ZOSO areas. He also credited the reduction to the use of states of public emergency, SOEs.
On the issue of state of public emergency, the government of the Jamaica Labour Party, led by Andrew Holness, had a complete city security plan. My constituency, with 180,000 people, had 175 murders in 1 year. One weekend, we had 27 murders in 3 days. The lowest for this year so far, a whole month, we had 46 in the island. It's called a record for 30 years. To think about not having a state of emergency is almost a type of madness. There was no alternative, and to the correct thing the government did, and I support and maintain that.
Dr. Horace Chang, National Security Minister. Stiffer penalties are on the horizon for those who engage in paradial larceny. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green brought the paradial larceny amendment bill through all its stages in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
The bill, when enacted, will strengthen the penalties to be imposed upon an offender for committing any offence under the Act, or the enactment specified in the first schedule of the Act. The objective of the amendments is to improve deterrence and to reinforce the legal framework by increasing the fines and terms of imprisonment to effectively address the persistent challenges posed by agricultural crimes, thereby safeguarding the sector.
The minister says several administrations have promised changes to ease the challenge theft poses for farmers. However, he notes that it's the Holness government that has made this a reality. Minister Green says the additional penalties will join those already increased by the government through the Agricultural Produce Amendment Act.
This Honourable House will recall that in 2023, we passed the Agricultural Produce Amendment Act to streamline the said act, to bring it in line with modern agricultural practices, and to be more applicable by incorporating stringent provisions in order to deter prey larceny and other agriculture-related offences. In fact, members, you remember at that time, we raised the maximum fines from $250,000 to $3 million, and the maximum time in prison from 6 months in prison to 3 years in prison. That is part of the approach that we have taken.
Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture, the bill passed in the lower house with no amendments. Small local farmers earned over $400 million last year from supplying the tourism sector with produce through the Agri-Linkages Exchange Alex portal. Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett made the announcement at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
Edmund Bartlett revealed the massive figure while detailing his ministry's initiatives centered around linking the country's agriculture and tourism sectors. He notes that small farmers are making significant earnings through his ministry's Agri-Linkages Exchange Alex portal.
And those small farmers, 3 acres, 1.5 acres, not the big guys, because the big guys are out there supplying also, but the little guys now. And they have in 1 year, so far this year, over $450 million of trading has happened on that platform between those small farmers, the little farmer, and the hotels. And since we have started, it's nearly $2 billion that have traded overall.
The Alex portal was launched in 2020. It's a joint initiative of the ministry through the Tourism Enhancement Fund, TEF, and the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. It brings hoteliers into direct contact with the farmers and, in turn, reduces leakages and helps Jamaica retain more of the economic benefits of tourism. Minister Bartlett is urging more farmers to grow more produce and utilize the portal.
42% of the expenditure of a visitor is on food. So if you want to really make resource flow into your space and stay, build out your capacity to supply the food requirements of the tourists. Alex allowed them to connect directly with the hotels to sell their produce from their fields. So the farmer with his iPhone calls the purveyors in Iberia Star, makes the transaction, and with a little luck with PayPal, gets paid immediately, and the food is delivered fresh to the storeroom of the hotels.
According to the minister, this is just one area that the Prime Minister has been pushing for increased contracts between hoteliers and local manufacturers to further grow the sector.
We're expanding this, and we are now going to plant out 2,000 lime trees, because lime is a big item of demand in tourism and not available. We have to be importing lime. So 2,000 trees are now being planted. Strawberry was a big issue, and we used to import heavily strawberry. Now strawberry is supplied to the tourists. We are now supplying these things. So what we want to do is to scale up these operations. And our Prime Minister has been very strong on the issue of long-term contracts to be developed between farmers and the hoteliers and manufacturers too, for other items of like bedding and so on and so forth.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.